My wife invited her male best friend too. My birthday party as a surprise. Hugged him longer than she hugged me and laughed when he toasted me as the guy. Secure enough to let his wife be understood by another man. I didn't yell. I just stood up and told the room what I had found on our shared tablet. I'm Edward, 41, and after 9 years of marriage, I thought I had learned the difference between being trusting and being stupid. I was never the kind of husband who wanted to police who my wife talked to. I remembered the small things about Marissa because I loved her. How she liked her coffee with a splash of cream but no sugar, which side of the couch she claimed without ever saying it out loud, and the song she skipped in the car because it reminded her of a bad year. I noticed those things because I thought that was what marriage was: paying attention, making room, trusting the person next to you not to use that trust against you. So when Marissa kept telling me Derek was basically family, I tried to believe her. Derek was 42, loud, in that relaxed way some men use when they want everyone to think they are harmless. He had known Marissa for years, longer than I had known her, which she mentioned every time I looked uncomfortable. He was there before you, she once said, rinsing a plate at the sink like that settled everything. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my hands around a mug I had not touched. That's not the issue. Then what is? He texts you after midnight. He knows about arguments we had in our bedroom. He buys you gifts that feel personal. Marissa sighed like I was a child, struggling with a simple lesson. Not every man wants something from me. Edward, I never said every man did. I said Derek acts like he already has something. That was usually where the conversation ended, not because we solved anything, but because Marissa had a way of turning my discomfort into the main offense. Suddenly, we were not talking about Derek calling her my favorite person under a vacation photo. We were talking about my insecurity. We were not talking about him sending her a necklace for no reason. We were talking about privacy and trust and how I needed to do the work, so I did not bring old-fashioned jealousy into a modern marriage. The first few years, I swallowed a lot of things because I did not want to become the guy everyone warns women about. I did not want to check her phone. I did not want to interrogate her. I did not want my wife to feel trapped. But the problem with trying so hard not to be controlling is that you can end up letting someone control the story. Derek was always around the edges of our marriage. He commented first on her posts. He knew when she had a rough day before I did. He sent memes that made her laugh in the kitchen while I was standing right there, asking what was funny. He had little nicknames for her that she told me not to take seriously. Once, during a cookout at a friend's house, he reached over and wiped barbecue sauce off the corner of her mouth with his thumb. I looked at her. She looked away. Later, in the car, I said, "That bothered me." She stared out the window. You let one tiny thing ruin a whole afternoon. It wasn't tiny. It was sauce, Edward. It was his hand on your mouth. She turned then, annoyed. You're making friendship sound dirty because you don't understand it. Then, help me understand why he does things with you that he wouldn't do in front of another man who respected your marriage. She folded her arms and said nothing for the rest of the ride. That became the rhythm. Derek crossed a line. I named it carefully. Marissa made me feel embarrassed for naming it. Then, weeks passed and everyone acted like nothing happened. By the time my birthday came around, I was tired in a way I had trouble explaining. Not tired, like I wanted a nap. Tired like I had spent years standing in a doorway, holding it shut while two people on the other side insisted there was no door. A week before I turned 41, Marissa told me she had planned a birthday dinner. Nothing huge, she said, leaning against the counter while I sorted through the mail. Just close friends, some family, cake, food. You don't have to do anything. For a second I was touched. Marissa had been distant, lately distracted. Her phone was always face down or in her back pocket. She had changed her password a month earlier and said it was because of work security, even though she had never cared before. Still, when she said she had planned something for me, I wanted to believe it was a good sign. Then she added, and please don't make it weird on Saturday. I looked up. Make what weird? She pressed her lips together. Derek is coming. The mail in my hand suddenly felt heavy. I didn't invite Derek. I said I did. To my birthday? He's part of my support system, Edward. I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. It's my birthday. Why is your first concern whether I make Derek uncomfortable? Because you always tense up when he's around. Maybe because he acts like he has a chair at our marriage table. She rolled her eyes. See? This is exactly what I mean. Can you just act normal for one night? That phrase stayed with me. Act normal. Not enjoy yourself. Not have a good birthday. Not feel loved. Act normal. The next day, Lena texted me. She was a mutual friend, closer to Marissa in some ways, but she had always been decent to me. Lena, hey, are you actually okay with Derek being there Saturday? I stared at the message for a while before answering. Me, why? Lena, I'm not trying to start anything. I just know it's been tense. Me, I'm starting to think everyone has been watching me pretend. She did not respond for almost 10 minutes. Lena, I should have said something sooner. That message did something to me. It did not make me angry right away. It made me cold. For years, Marissa had told me I was imagining the tension that I was reading into things that nobody else saw what I saw because there was nothing to see. But Lena's text made it clear. Other people had noticed. They had simply let me stand there alone with it. 2 nights before the party, I was using the shared tablet in the kitchen. We used it for recipes, streaming shows, while cooking, checking calendar stuff, and storing family photos. It was not hidden. It was not locked away. It was a device both of us used. I was trying to find a recipe Marissa had saved when a photo notification popped up. A screenshot had synced from her phone. I should have looked away. That is what part of me thought, but the preview had my name in it. I tapped it. It was a screenshot of a message thread between Marissa and Derek. Not the whole conversation, just enough to make my stomach drop. Marissa, if he acts normal Saturday, he can't keep acting like you being around is some huge betrayal. Derek, he'll sit there. He always does. Marissa, just don't push too hard. I need him to see everyone is fine with it. Derek, everyone is fine with it because everyone knows he won't do anything. I sat at the kitchen table, the tablet glowing in front of me, and I felt something inside me stop moving. It was not just that she had invited him. It was not even that they had talked about me like I was furniture. It was that my birthday was not a birthday. It was a test. If I stayed quiet while Derek occupied space in front of our friends and family, Marissa planned to use my silence as permission. Later, when I objected, she would say, "You were fine with him at your birthday. Everyone saw it." My own restraint was being turned into evidence against me. I did not confront her that night. For once, I decided not to hand her my suspicions so she could edit them. Before the truth arrived, I kept looking through what was already available on shared devices and accounts. I did not hack anything. I did not install anything. I did not stalk her. I simply stopped ignoring the places where the truth had been sitting because she forgot they were shared. There was a receipt in our shared email folder from a night 3 weeks earlier. Marissa had told me she was having dinner with women from the friend group. The receipt showed 2 entrees, 2 cocktails, and a timestamp that matched the exact hour. She said she was still waiting on everyone else. I stared at that receipt longer than I should have, like the ink might rearrange itself into something less humiliating. There were synced photos from a deleted chat. Nothing explicit, but plenty that was intimate enough to make my hands shake. A picture of her, hand near his drink, a cropped hotel lobby sign in the background of one selfie, Derek's message under it. Still thinking about that night we had shared location history turned on years earlier for safety. Both of us had agreed to it after a bad roadside situation. I checked the dates. I already had reasons to question. Twice, Marissa had been near the same hotel district where Derek had posted vague photos with captions like, "Needed." This reset. None of it was a movie-style confession. There was no single perfect smoking gun. It was worse. In some ways, it was a stack of ordinary little lies, all leaning in the same direction. I saved screenshots. I emailed copies to myself. I put everything in a folder with dates, not because I wanted revenge, but because I was finally done letting people tell me my eyes did not work. Saturday came. The birthday dinner was in a private room at a restaurant with string lights outside the windows and a long table set up with paper place cards Marissa had clearly made herself. There were balloons tied to the backs of chairs. A cake box from a local bakery sat on a side table. For one painful second, when I walked in and everyone yelled surprise, I almost forgot everything I had seen. Marissa kissed me quickly on the cheek. "Surprised?" she asked, smiling too brightly. "Actually, yeah," I said. "You did all this?" Her eyes flicked toward the door. "Most of it. That told me what I needed to know." Paul, my older cousin, came over and hugged me. He was not a dramatic person. He hated scenes, hated gossip, and had the calm face of a man who could tell when a room felt wrong. "Happy birthday," he said quietly. "Thanks. You good?" I looked around at the decorations, the friends, Nora sitting near the end of the table with her purse in her lap, and Marissa checking the doorway again. "Not even a little," I said, Paul's face changed just slightly. I'm around. 10 minutes. Later, the door opened and Derek walked. And like he had been cued, Marissa's whole body shifted. She ran to him. Not walked. Ran. She threw her arms around his neck and he lifted her slightly off the floor while people laughed with the awkward energy of guests who knew something was off but did not want to be the first to stop smiling. Look who made it, Marissa said, still holding his arm. Now the party can actually start. Tasha, who always liked tension more than she admitted, laughed and said, "Careful, Derek. You're looking like the real guest of honor." A few people chuckled. Someone coughed. Lena looked at me, then looked down at her drink. I stood there and let the moment breathe. Derek came over and clapped me on the shoulder. Happy birthday, man. His grip was too firm. His smile was too easy. Derek, I said. That's it, he asked, grinning. No. Hug. No. He laughed like I had made a joke and moved on. Dinner started and slowly, somehow, I became a guest at my own birthday. Derek told stories with Marissa that I was not part of. He interrupted me twice. He leaned close to her when she talked. When she laughed, she touched his arm, quick and familiar, then pulled back like she remembered. People were watching. At one point, Derek raised his glass toward me and said, "Edward's a good guy. Quiet, but good." I smiled without showing teeth. Funny, I thought it was my birthday, not my performance review. The table went still for half a second. Then Tasha laughed too loudly. Okay, birthday boy. Came ready. Marissa shot me a warning look. That look almost made me laugh. Not because anything was funny, but because even then, after everything, her main concern was whether I was making the situation uncomfortable for them. When it was time for cake, Marissa asked Derek to help her bring it out. Not Paul, not Nora, not me. Derek stood beside my wife behind my cake while people lifted their phones for photos. Marissa leaned close to him as they carried it in, and the candlelight caught her face in this soft, happy way I had not seen directed at me in months. Paul came up behind me. You good? He asked again. I watched Derek's hand settle briefly at the small of Marissa's back. No, I said, but I'm clear. After the cake, Derek tapped his glass. Speech, he said. Marissa waved him off, laughing already. Oh my God, stop. But she did not stop him. She never stopped him. She just performed embarrassment. While giving him the stage, Derek stood, one hand in his pocket, glass in the other. I'll keep this short, he said. Edward, happy birthday. Seriously. Marriage takes a lot. Patience, understanding, security. He looked around the table like he was charming a crowd. So, here's to Edward, the guy, secure enough to let his wife have a best friend who actually gets her. The room did not explode. Real life is uglier than that. It tightened. A couple of people gave half laughs because they did not know what else to do. Tasha's smile faded mid-breath. Lena closed her eyes. Nora frowned like she had finally heard the sentence underneath the joke. Marissa laughed. Not long, not loudly, but she laughed. That was the sound that made my decision for me. I stood up. My chair scraped the floor, and every face turned toward me. That's funny, I said. My voice sounded calmer than I felt because until last week I didn't. No best friend meant hotel receipts, deleted messages, and my wife lying about where she was. Nobody moved. Marissa's face went white, then red. Edward. I kept my eyes on Derek. You brought him here to my birthday. I'm just finally naming the gift. Derek let out a small laugh. Man, relax. It was a toast. No, I said. It was a test. Marissa stood quickly and reached for my arm. Edward, don't do this here. I stepped back before she could touch me. You made here part of it when you invited him. Her voice dropped into the tone she used when she wanted to control a conversation. We need to talk in the hallway. No, we're not stepping into another room, so you can tell me my eyes don't work. Nora stood halfway from her chair. What is he talking about? Marissa turned toward her mother. Mom, he's twisting things. I pulled out my phone, but I did not wave it around like some dramatic prosecutor. I opened the folder and read only what mattered. Marissa to Derek. I said, if he acts normal Saturday, he can't keep acting like you being around is some huge betrayal. Derek replied, he'll sit there. He always does. Derek's smirk disappeared. Marissa whispered, that was private. So was our marriage. I said. The silence after that was heavy, enough to feel physical. Derek tried to recover. I didn't know we were doing courtroom drama tonight. Paul spoke from behind me, low and steady. You should probably stop talking. Derek looked at him, then around the table, expecting someone to laugh. Nobody did. Marissa's eyes were wet now, but I had seen that switch before. Anger, tears, injury, anything to move attention away from what she had done. It wasn't like, you think, she said, then stop telling me what it wasn't and write down what it was. She flinched. I looked at Derek. Leave, he scoffed. You're really going to make your own birthday awkward? No, I said. I'm done helping you embarrass me. Marissa stepped between us. Edward, stop. You're humiliating me. I looked at her for a moment. 9 years of marriage. And I still wanted her to choose me cleanly. Even then, even after the messages. That is the humiliating part. Nobody tells you about betrayal. Your dignity can be standing upright while your heart is still begging quietly in the corner. If he stays, I said, I leave. Marissa looked at Derek. It was only a second, maybe 2, but the whole room sighed. She looked at him before answering me. I nodded once. That pause was the most honest thing you've said tonight. Then I picked up my jacket from the back of my chair. Marissa grabbed for me again. Edward, don't walk out like this. I didn't walk into this alone, I said, but I'm walking out that way. Behind me, voices started rising. Nora was asking Marissa what exactly had happened. Tasha said, wait, what hotel? Lena was crying quietly. Derek muttered something I did not catch, and Paul said his name like a warning. I kept walking. Outside, the air felt sharp and clean. My hands were shaking, so I put them in my pockets. Paul came out less than a minute later. You need me to drive? He asked. No. You want me to stay? I looked through the window at the room I had just left. Marissa was standing near Derek, but not touching him now. Funny how quickly people learn distance when witnesses appear. I need one person in That room to remember, I didn't start. This, I said. Paul nodded. I'll remember. My phone started buzzing. Before I reached the parking lot, Marissa called 6 times. Then the text came. Marissa, how could you do that to me? Marissa, you humiliated me in front of my mother. Marissa, Derek was joking. And you went nuclear. Marissa, answer. Your phone. Marissa, please. I'm scared. Marissa, you're making one bad choice. Sound like our whole marriage. I did not answer the calls. I sat in my car, breathing through the worst of the anger, and sent one message. Me, do not call. Me. Anything important can be written down. She responded immediately. Marissa, you're being cruel. Me, no. I'm being careful. That night, I slept in a room that did not feel like mine anymore. Marissa came home after midnight. I heard the front door open, heard her pause in the hallway, heard her crying softly like she wanted me to come out and comfort her. I did not move. The next morning, the group chat had turned into a mess. People were asking vague questions. A few were pretending they had not seen what they had seen. Someone wrote, I think everyone was drinking and emotions were high, which almost made me throw my phone across the room. Instead, I typed one message and sent it to the family and close friends who had been there. I won't be explaining this through rumors. What happened last night was the result of months of lies. I'm handling it privately and legally from here. Please, don't contact me for details. Paul responded with a thumbs up. Lena texted me privately 10 minutes later. Lena, I have something you need to see. I'm sorry. She sent a video. It was from before I arrived at the restaurant. The room was half decorated. Marissa was standing near Derek by the cake table. Lena must have been recording decorations or joking around with someone because the angle was low and a little shaky. Marissa's voice came through clearly. Just don't make it obvious tonight, she told Derek. It's still his birthday. Derek laughed. I'll behave. You never behave. I behave. Enough. The video ended. I watched it 3 times, each time feeling less shocked and more done. Lena called, and I let it go to voicemail. Then she texted, Lena, I should have said something sooner. I thought you were being sensitive. You were being patient. I'm sorry. I wrote back, thank you for sending it. Later that afternoon, another friend sent me a screenshot. It was from someone Derek had been messaging, bragging in that careless way people do when they think the person they are mocking will never see it. Derek, she likes the attention and her husband is too passive to stop it. That one did not hurt the same way Marissa's messages hurt. It disgusted me, but it also clarified something. Derek did not love Marissa the way she probably imagined. He loved winning. He loved standing in my house, at my table, in my life, and feeling like he had taken something while I politely made room. Marissa spent the next few days trying every version of the same escape. At first, she was angry. You had no right to expose private messages, she said. From the other side of the kitchen island, I was making coffee. My hands were steady by then. You had no right to use my birthday as a trap. It was not a trap. I looked at her. She looked away. Then she cried. I felt lonely, she said. Derek listened when you didn't. I set my mug down. When did I stop listening? You were always judging the friendship. I was judging the lies. Then she minimized it. It wasn't physical like you're implying. I'm not debating categories with you. It got complicated. No, complicated is when good people are stuck between bad options. You had options. You lied. Then she apologized. I'm sorry, she whispered one night, standing in the doorway with her arms wrapped around herself. I didn't mean for it to become this. I believed that part in a narrow way. I did not think Marissa had planned to blow up her marriage in front of her mother and friends. I think she planned to bend reality a little more and expected me to help her do it by staying quiet. That was the part one could not forgive. I moved all communication to writing. If she came into a room and started talking about feelings, I said, email me. If she wanted to discuss logistics, I said, text it. If she accused me of being cold, I said, I'm not discussing trust with someone who used mine as cover. I spoke to a marriage attorney within the week. I brought copies of receipts, screenshots, the video Lena sent, and the messages Marissa had written afterward. The attorney did not gasp or make it dramatic. She just looked through the folder and said, keep communication brief, factual, and written. Do not make financial moves without advice. Do not let anger create problems for you. I nodded. That's already the only way I'll speak to her. So that is what I did. I did not drain accounts. I did not blast anyone online. I did not make a public post calling Derek names. I separated personal finances properly, documented what needed documenting, and began the legal separation process. That was not as satisfying as yelling in a parking lot would have been, maybe, but it was cleaner, and I needed clean. I had lived too long in a marriage where every boundary became a debate, and every instinct had to defend itself. The social consequences came slower, but they came. People stopped inviting Derek around, not all at once, not with big speeches, just little things. A group dinner happened and he was not included. A birthday group chat went quiet when he posted a joke. Tasha, who had laughed at the wrong moments for years, sent me a message that said, I didn't realize how bad it was until I saw her pause. I'm sorry. Nora called me 2 weeks after the dinner. I almost did not answer, but I did. Her voice sounded older than usual. Edward. Hi. Nora. I'm not calling to interfere. I said nothing. She took a breath. I asked Marissa one question. I asked her if she invited Derek because she wanted peace or because she wanted permission. My throat tightened despite myself. What did she say? I asked. She cried. That was answer enough. Nora did not suddenly become my defender. She was still Marissa's mother. She still loved her daughter, but she stopped pretending. The problem was my tone. That mattered more than I expected. Marissa sent one long email near the end of the month. She wrote that she had felt unseen, that Derek made her feel interesting, that she never meant to hurt me, that she got addicted to the attention, that she was afraid if she admitted how much she liked it, she would have to admit something was broken in her. She said she wanted counseling. She said she wanted to rebuild trust. She said we should not throw away 9 years. I read it twice. Then I wrote back, I am not throwing away 9 years. I'm accepting what you did with them. I will not stay married to someone who turns my trust into a loophole. I'm willing to communicate about the separation respectfully and in writing. I'm not willing to continue the triangle you created. I stared at the email for a long time before sending it, not because I doubted the words, because sending it meant I was no longer waiting for her to become the person I had been defending in my head. A few weeks later, Paul and Lena organized a small birthday redo for me. Nothing fancy. Folding chairs in a backyard, a cooler by the fence, paper plates, grilled food, and a cake that leaned slightly to one side because someone had driven too fast with it in the passenger seat when they sang. Nobody made a joke at my expense. Nobody turned my patience into entertainment. Nobody asked me to act normal while disrespect sat at the table. Wearing a friendly smile, Lena hugged me before she left. I really am sorry, she said. I know I should have said something before it got that bad. I looked at the empty cake plate, the string lights, Paul laughing at something near the cooler. Me too. She nodded because she knew I was not only talking about her. Marissa and I were legally separating by then. Derek had become a name people avoided saying around me, not because I demanded it, but because the room had finally learned what his presence cost. I was not healed. I was not suddenly free of anger. Some mornings still felt like waking up inside a house after fire. Everything familiar, but smoke damaged. But I was out of the triangle. That mattered. For years, I had confused being fair with being quiet. I had treated my own discomfort like an inconvenience everyone else was allowed to vote on. I had waited for proof so undeniable that nobody could call me insecure, and by the time I had it, I realized the proof was never really for them. It was for me. I did not lose my marriage at that birthday dinner. I stopped pretending I still had one. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.